Hi everyone, and welcome to my question and answer session. This is the second one, and thank you to everyone who's sent in questions. We've had lots and lots of really good questions. So here we go. This is the second episode of this show. How do you analyse deals? That's a great question, and a question that I get asked an awful lot. And if you watch my show, The Property Graduate, you will find out that a number of the contestants on there struggle to analyse a deal in an hour, which is an awful long time. We analyse deals within 15 minutes. And the reason we do that is because we need to get on and analyse a lot of deals. So most people try and put too much detail in analysing a deal, and that's certainly true of the Property Graduate contestants. So really, all we're looking for to start with is to know whether we want to dump the deal and put it in the waste paper bin, or whether we want to look into more detail, which is fine. But what people tend to do is do too much detail to start with, even though it's never going to work. So what I do, I want to know the square footage, because if you have the square footage, everything else it just falls into place. Because if you've got the square footage, then you can work out what the build costs are going to be, and you can also work out what the sale prices are going to be. And on my new website, johnhowardproperty.com, you will find a development appraisal, which you can fill in. There's lots of others around. I know people you can download a development appraisal. I have a pretty simple one because, as I said, I don't think you need huge amounts of detail to start with. And just crack on and practice. You know, the more properties that you analyse, the quicker you'll do it. So all you're looking for is the square footage or meterage. Once you know that, you can then work out the build costs, and you can work out what the sale prices are, and then you can add 10% on for interest or whatever. So keep it simple to start with. If it works on that basis, then you can look into more detail, like population and all the rest of it, which is and crime records around the area and things like that, which are important. But the basics is square footage, build cost prices, and sale prices. Hope it helps. Another question that's come in is they've got a commercial tenant who won't pay. Now, we've all been in that situation, and I have a number of commercial tenants, some better than others at paying. One thing I would say about commercial tenants is I always try and have a good relationship with them, because that way, if they are tight for money and you've got a good relationship with them, they're much more likely to pay you than they are someone else. So in order of preference, they should be paying the rates, the electricity bill, the wages, and then the rent, or the other way around. I want the rent first, but you get what I'm trying to say. So if they can't pay, then I try and put them on some sort of agreement where they'll pay over a 3-month period and catch up. I never ever let them off the rent. Never ever let them off the rent. Because if you do, they'll start taking more advantage of you all the time. So I make sure they pay. If they can't pay initially, then I will let them off and certainly make them pay a less amount. But I always make sure that they pay something, and that they understand that at some point they've got to catch up with it. So I hope that helps. Work with them, try and help them, but be firm and fair. So the next question is, have I got any tricks about how to negotiate? I'm assuming it's a purchase or a sale. The one thing I try never to do if I'm negotiating whether to purchase a property or sell a property is commit myself to a price. In other words, what I tend to do is let the other person who's buying off me or selling to me to commit to a price. So that way I start at a lower level. And what I mean by that is, say I'm looking to buy a property for £200,000. I'll say to, and the price is 200,000. I'll say to the agent, what will they take for it? And they may say, well, I think they'll take 190, John. So I know straight away I've knocked 10,000 off. Then I talk to them and say, well, I think that's a bit strong. Can you have a word with them and see what they will do? And they might come back at 85,000. Then I can start negotiating from that point. In other words, I start negotiating from a lower point straight away, automatically, than the actual price is on the brochure. That's if the market isn't too strong, and I appreciate at the moment it is strong and it's more difficult. But as we know, that will change, and that is changing now. So never or sort of commit yourself if you can help it. And the other way round, if you're selling, never let your agent the agent will ask you, "Oh, what will you take for it?" Never commit. Just ask them to go back and get a higher bid from the buyer. Don't suddenly commit and sort of drop the price immediately when you're negotiating. Make sure that you make sure the agent works hard and does their best for you to start with, initially especially. So, don't commit too early. Get the price up from where the original offer was without you starting to commit to actually coming down yourself at all. And the way I say to the agent, what can they afford? What did they say they could buy a property up to? What was their level? What was their maximum? Because when I know their maximum, I know how much I can push them to, probably. And of course, if they come back very quickly on a counter offer, then they're very keen as well. So you can just be a bit patient. Don't leave it too long before you go back to them, otherwise they'll go cold on you. But certainly always get the other person to commit first. I hope that helps. Next question was, how do I work with estate agents? How do I get the best out of estate agents? I assume that means. And that's all about having a good relationship with them. So make sure that you're straightforward with them. Make sure you're not difficult. They need to be, when you're selling, they need to be your best friend. And when you're buying, they also need to be your best friend. In other words, they need to like you more if you're buying than their actual client who they should be working for. So you want them to like you more than their client. And one way of doing that is if you're looking to purchase a property to develop it and then sell it again, always mention to them that they will have it back to sell themselves, because that way they get another sale out of it. If it's a property that they've found you but they're not getting paid by the seller because they haven't been instructed, make sure I always pay them a 2% finder's fee, which they love that. And if you say that to them, that will certainly help as well. And in fact, one of my little shows I'm doing coming up, where I'm in conversation with a number of people I've worked with. We've got one coming up with David Coates, who works for William H. Brown's, who are part of Sequence, a very successful estate agent. And I think what he says is very enlightening and interesting from an estate agent's point of view. I asked some questions of, how can some of the people that watch and listen to my YouTube, how can they develop a relationship with agents? And he's got some very interesting things to say. So my advice is always be punctual, be polite, don't be difficult. If they phone you about a deal, make sure you get back to them straight away. Pop in and see them if you can. Take in a coffee, take some donuts in. If you want to get to know an agent well, even if the property they've offered you isn't the one that you think you want, go on the viewing with them, get chatting to them, get to know them, and you can always say, look, this one isn't for me, but thank you so much for showing it to me, and what else have you got? And by the way, have you got time for a quick takeaway coffee, have a chat? Get that. It's all about relationships, and the relationships I have with the estate agents that I deal with is very good, and that's no coincidence. So good luck. This is a question that I get asked a lot as well when I'm speaking at different events and so on. What's the best deal I've ever done? Well, over 43 years, I've done some good deals. I've also got some wrong, of course. And as I say to everybody, you show me a property developer that's never lost any money and I'll show you a liar. However, let me give you an example of a super deal. And It doesn't have to be a big deal. And this is where people I think sometimes get a bit carried away. You can have a really big deal that doesn't make you a lot of money, but pro rata, it sounds good. Or you can have a really small deal that people think, oh, that's not a very big deal, but you can make a lot of money on it percentage-wise. So I think one of the best deals I ever did was about 8-9 years ago when I bought a bungalow for 55,000. It had a tenant in it, and I paid 55,000 for it off a lady who needed to sell it quickly. It was off market. Someone who I knew introduced me, an agent introduced me to her, who got paid a finder's fee, of course. And I sold it within 12 months for 165,000 without spending a penny on it. So massive return. And although it was only a small deal, and I've done some fairly big deals, £30 million deals and so on, upwards in some cases, that gave me more pleasure than doing one of the bigger deals because of the percentage-wise, the profit I made. So look, I've answered a few good questions there, hopefully. Please do keep sending them in. We're getting lots of questions, and I hope the answers are very helpful to you, because that's what it's about. It's all about education. If you want to know more, then please do go and my Instagram or my YouTube or on LinkedIn. Don't forget my seminars, and also don't forget the fact that I'm very happy to join venture with you. If you've got a great deal, send it in to us and we'll analyse it very quickly and see whether we'll fund it 100% for you and share the profit 50-50. Goodbye for now.